Now, in sewing the female trouser, what you will need to do first is to cut your linings. So the reason I'm trying to explain the linings for us again is in case we have, this is the first time of us watching. So the measurement of the pocketing is 14 inches width by 14, but because we're doing for female, you can do 13 by 13. However, right? Then after which you must have slashed out this other edge. One edge will be slashed out. Then your pocket facing must have been weaved. Then you take one of the parts and fix it on the straight part of this trouser, just this way. Fix it on the straight part of this here, right? And then stitch it round. So now I have sewn the pocketing facing this way. So after you have sewn it that way, now this thing you did here is what you will do on the other side. And bear in mind, in the pocketing placement, you cannot replicate what you did here twice, like by putting it again here. The other one will be on the other side. That's meaning that the slash area will be at this point, then while the pocket facing will be somewhere here, opposite direction. So now you have fixed the pocket facings on opposite directions. Then you bring your pocket. Bear in mind that you must have gummed that area you notched. The gumming is like 2.5 inches or 2 inches on slanted form. The notched points are your guide to fold this way. So once you have folded this in this form, then you will now start fixing your pockets, your trouser on the pocketing. So you now place this gummed area 1/2 inch across the slashed area of your lining. The slashing is 7 inches deep by 1.5. You slash it out. Then place it 1/2 inch from there and make sure the 1/2 inch is all through from the beginning till the ending, right? All through. And then you stitch after the folded edge. So you make sure it's placed properly that way. Then you stitch. So while approaching the downside, you fold the tip of the pocket notching. So once you stitch and get to this point, you go all through this way as well. And then you also fold here this way. Then stitch all down, all through to this very point. Cut your threads. Make sure you trim off any excesses. So at this point, you now fold here to go backwards like this, and then stitch like 1/4 of an inch from that edge you notched. So this area, your hand must be as straight as possible. So you arrange it properly and then stitch. Your lines must be as straight as possible. Cut your threads. Cut your threads. Then after you have done this now, the next you will do will be to replace this notched area. Remember that you notched your pocket by a certain inch, I think, which we use 2 inches in the drafting stage. So any inch you use in the drafting stage is what you are replacing right here. So place your lining, your pocket to match or correspond at this edge, and then measure whatever you have notched, then replace it from the up part of your lining. Then after you have gotten the placement nicely, then the next you will do, stitch down this way. Then after this, the next you will do is to notch and stitch this edge. Just give like 1/2 inch stitching down. Cut your threads. Cut your threads. Then you raise the main trouser up and then notch your lining 1/2 inch down, 1/2 inch in. This way, very important. You tuck your hand in, bring out the lining, arrange it properly this way, and then from the notched point, you sew it down. From the notched point, you sew it down. From here, you sew it down. So you can decide to make it a curve or a square. However, whichever one you deem fit, you can decide to do it. Then sew it all through. Cut your threads. Then trim out some excesses at this point. Trim out some excesses at this point. After we tuck in the lining in, tuck it in, and then you top stitch. Now the top stitching you are going to make will be to make sure that the pocketing is strong and to reinforce the pocket so that it doesn't tear off easily. You lock it up that way. You cut your thread. You cut your thread. So whatever you did here is what you're going to replicate on the other side, and then I will do that to come back to show you the continuation. So here I have done my loops. You know, the loops is 1.5 inch, so cut it 4 inches. Then you iron them. So these things are something that are things you should know by now. But in case this is your first time, that's why I'm trying to explain in detail. Now, in making a female trouser, you have to pick the right panel to fix your zip. This zip will come out on the left. But for male, you pick the left to fix your zip fly, it comes out on the right. So these are the two major differences between a male and a female trouser. But in most cases as well, some persons might still go ahead and fix it normally without considering the gender. But then the right thing to do is pick the right panel and fix your flap so that it will come out on the left. Ladies, they use left hand to unzip their trouser, while the men use right hand to unzip their trouser. So here you place the two panels, and also bear in mind that there is no need to fix lining on the front panels of the trouser, right? Except if you are making for a transparent fabric like a lace or any light fabric, you might now decide to put lining, but you don't need to put lining on the front panel of the trouser. So here we are going to do our zipper point. So because we are making a high waist trouser, we are going to make use of the whole length of this zip so that it will be enough. It will be enough. So I've just measured it. And then here, what I have here is 7 inches, right? So which is okay. So you now notch here, 1/4 inch this way. So now you pick the right panel, like I said. You pick the right panel this way, and then bring your flap, and then place it on that notched point. That notched point. Make sure that your flap is a bit longer, like 1/2 inch longer. Then you stitch from the notching. You sew it down. Make sure that it's lapping on the weaved region, right? Your stitching must lap on the weaved part. Then sew it down all through this way. Sew it down all through this way. After you have got to this level, cut your threads. Cut your threads. This is what we have. Cut off your threads, and after which you open it up this way, and then top stitch on the flap area. Top stitch this on the flap area. Top stitch this on the flap points. Top stitch this on the flap points. So top stitch this on the flap point. So this is what you will have. So after you have done the top stitching, then you bring your zip and face your zip downwards. You bring your zip, face it downwards. Make sure that the zip ahead is half-inch lower than that. The zip iron stopper here is half-inch lower than the main trouser panel. So once you have aligned the zip properly, the zip must lap at the sewn line. So give gap to adjoin the band, right? Don't make the zip to be too long. Then stitch on the other edge of the zip. So this is one of the methods you can use to fix your zip. But if you know an easier or better method for you, you can go ahead to make use of it and you will still achieve the same results. So stitch the zip all through down to the very end, and after which you turn your zipper this way. So this is what you will have. So after that, the next thing you will do here now is to bring the other flap and then fold in to two. Now, depending on how you want to do your trouser, if you want to do what they call an English trouser that has an extension, you don't need to fold the flap into two. So I'm doing an extension, the trouser has an extension, right? So I'm just placing it this way. It's called an English trouser because of the nature of the trouser we have or we had on the picture we saw, it needs the extension to lock or fit in properly. After the first lock, you do the second locking, right? Then stitch all through here as well. Stitch all through here as well. So it goes all through this way. And please note importantly that on the back panel, you don't need to put welt pocket, but you must put your darts. You must fix your darts. You must install the darts on the back panel. So after which you bring your other panel and then make sure that the two waistline or the height of this trouser must tally nicely, like it must lap perfectly from here. It must lap perfectly, just this way. It must lap perfectly. The length must be equal, and then you start from there to stitch it down. Your stitching will end on the notch points. Your stitching will end on the notched points. So this is what we have. Cut your threads, cut your threads. Then this is what we have. Look at how it came out. And after which you now lock the crotch region. After which you now lock the crotch point. Starting from that point, that thread ended, pin your needle this way, and then arrange the both crotch points. Carefully arrange the both crotch points. And then you sew. So once you have finished sewing that crotch point, so this area can be double threaded, or you can tighten your stitch and sew it once. So now this will be the result of what you are looking at. So at this point, we are done with the front panel. So let us now handle the back panel, and then I'll continue with the trouser. So the back panel, all you need to do here now is to get your dart point. So how do you get your dart point? From the straight side line, you are going to mark either 5.5 or 5 inches, depending on the person's size. So in most cases, what I just do is I fold the midpoint of the trouser, put the dart at the center. That's what I do mostly for female trousers. So that's what I'm going to do now. So that length can be 4 inches or 4.5, still depends on the person's height as well. So let me put the dart, show you the next thing to do. Now we want to start the joining of the sides. I have finished the zipper area and I've ironed. Please make sure that once you have finished fixing your zip, go to your table and iron to make sure that your zip is relaxing just like this. There should be no squeezes or folds or whatsoever. After this, you iron the dart area of your back panel. I fix my dart. You iron it very well. You iron the weave area, the weavings. Iron it so that it can relax very well. In some cases, weaving can shrink your trouser length. Then match the corresponding sides to this and make sure that you hold both sides to be equal in length. So once you match the lines, you now start sewing from here. Now, because of that little extension we had, it might be a bit longer, but you need to be dragging the front panel so that the both of them will correspond. And then you start sewing. Half an inch is what you are joining with at the sides. Half an inch. Half of an inch. And then you make sure everything is properly arranged. So once you have passed the pocket region, you have to pause there, then drag the both legs, make sure the both legs are corresponding, and then you hold them at interval. So I am dragging the front panel down small. I'm stretching it down. So stretch it down until you are sure that the lengths are the same. You see, the lengths are corresponded here. Don't allow the back panel to be longer. So after you have done this, do the same thing on the other side. Then you go and open press. Open pressing means ironing the sewn line to be open this way from beginning to the end. I will do that and come and show you the results. So we have open pressed the sides and we are done with that. Now the next you will do now is to pin your flap point. You pin this your flap point. Now the reason for the pinning is to make sure you have a stable flap area here, and then fold the trouser waist into two. So once you fold it, you are going to have, let's pin it from the up. You pin very well. Then fold it this way. And then make sure that the panels are corresponding. The panels must correspond. The side to side, front to front must correspond. Just like this. And then you start to measure your waist point. And the waist measurement we had was 35, 17.5. So somewhere here. So you measure what is left inside, 1.5 is left inside. Then you can still, start from the center zip, just from here, and also measure your waist, which is 17.5. So we have 1/4 left at the end of the day at the back panel. So the reason for that, for you to know how to fix your loops or how to mark for your loops. So how then do you mark? From the side pocket here, for female, you mark 2 inches in. From the side joining here, you mark 2 inches back. Since we have 1 1/4 or 1 1.5 left, so you mark it out and then mark 1.5 for the center back. So do the same thing on the other side, and then from the front pocket, 2 inches. From the side, 2 inches backwards. Mark out your excess allowance and then mark 1.5. Now, this is how you get the positions where your belt loop will be. Then after which, remember that the zip extension will be on this part, unlike the male that is always on this part. The band extension, rather, the band extension. So you can start fixing this if you want. Then all you need to do first, the band was cut together and gummed and then folded. Then you can decide to reduce the allowance of folding by 1/4 of an inch. So I will trim this to the very end, and then I will show you guys the result as well. So you now start from one part of the trouser and start fixing your band. So just place it firmly, and then now you have 2 options in doing this. If you want to pipe here, you can pipe it together. But if you're not piping, kindly fold the band this way. Kindly fold the band this way and then place it at that point. Now the reason for the folding is to have a neat finishing at that point. And then lining will cover this area. The one we are folding is the other one. Lining will cover this band region. This is for the male and female. So when you are working with it, make sure, so when you are stitching it, make sure you place your loops at the point where you have marked, and then you arrange it nicely. Make sure you stitch all along this line. Stitch all along this line. Stitch all along this line. So because you have open pressed, the side joining is already open, right? That's the sense of open pressing before you start stitching. Then go all the way this way, and then install your loops this point. Install your belt loops this point, and then you arrange and stitch. So make sure that you get your loops inserted. Install your loop as well. So install your loop here, and then go all the way till the very end. So once you have done this now, cut your threads. Cut your threads. So the next you will do is to cut out the band for the other side of the trouser. So you also go through the same process of installing it. Then remember that before you proceed, you have to stitch the loops down by 1/2 inch. All the loops must be sewn down by 1/2 inch. So let me fix this. Then when I get to where you make some changes, I will show you as well. Now, when you are approaching this point, then that point that you weave, that you notch your band, you mark it, and then when you stitch and get to that exact point, you stop. You stop, cut your thread, then raise the band to a certain inch, which you will use to do the band overlapping. It can be 1.5 to 2 inches depending on you, and then you now continue from that same exact point. You put it this way, and then you cut off the excess band, but give some 1/2 inch allowance, which we use in folding this way. Make sure that your zip is relaxed, please. Your zip must be relaxed backwards, not frontwards. Your zip must be relaxed backwards. Then fold in this form, and then stitch. So this is what we have. Cut your threads. Make sure everything is properly cut out. This is what you will have. Then after that, you can just confirm what you have done. This is what we are trying to achieve, the extension of the band coming out in this form, right? So once you have achieved this, then you now start holding the loops half inch down on each loop. So I will do that. I'll show you the results.